There's a sense of a lack of understanding for the sole sake of, securing your own position in history. I think that that's a catastrophic mistake because you're securing your position in a history that you don't know.
Right.
So let us know about,
Yeah, I'm going there. So here we are. When the rap group started, there's several phases of what we're calling hip hop. Several phases. In 1973, Kool Herc gives his party. That's the narrative of the beginning of the hip hop. I didn't know who Kool Herc was in 1973, but I knew bongo rock. I knew James Brown. I knew all the music. I knew about b-boying. We didn't call it then, but I knew about, burning and all of that. Kool Herc is not on the radar yet. It's the Jackson 5 and Bruce Lee. And James Brown, of course. 74, 75 comes around. When Kool Herc does his first party, I graduate from elementary school, PS 111. Right, I'm going to the 7th grade. By the time I'm halfway through the 7th grade, 8th grade, I start hearing about Kool Herc, and there's DJs in my neighborhood. They're not famous like Kool Herc, but they're playing those records. My mother had those records. We're listening to soul music, and that's everywhere. Dennis Coffey is from Detroit, not from the Bronx. So when we heard Scorpio, we're listening to Scorpio from Detroit. So they're obviously listening to that music. And so what happens in the Bronx is a galvanization of a collection of these exotic rhythms that spoke to the dancers. There were no MCs. It was just dancers. All of us were dancers. Burning started between the guys and the girls. Females started to fall back when it started to get too aggressive, but the females really started burning. The hand was a female thing. And so...
Now, when you say burning, explain.
Burning, when you're dancing against somebody in a circle, you jump down, hit your knees, come up, blah.
Right.
Okay.
Give them the hand, they out of the circle, you go sit down and wait for 3 records later to come up.
Okay.
And so, we formed this thing. It's a natural expression. We tend to think that our expression stamps history when the human expression is timeless. Our expression to speak in poetry form is older than anyone knows. So in our time, it is our connection to the technology of the time that makes it different. It's how we use the technology of our time to express the same expression that's been going on since we've been here. I can now show you the Mills Brothers rhyming just the way we do in 1930. A circle breaks out in 1930 and they start breakdancing. 1930, that's before my mother was born. You see? And so, unfortunately, through organized and systematic racism, we were cut off from our history. So we don't know that these things occurred before us. So we see it as new. And the people that are around us who obviously they didn't know, the elders, and didn't pay attention and didn't think it was important to share this with the next generation. I've seen some people go, man, they used to do that forever. But not in a way where the media would take hold of it and show. Like when Sugar Hill Gang came out, that was an opportunity to say, hey, look at all this footage we have of all of these artists from the 20s and the 30s who did that. We didn't know that. That created a problem because when you don't have nothing to begin with and here you think you have something that's solely yours, you're not going to let it go. You're going to hold on to it. You see what I'm saying? And you're not going to acknowledge that it came before. I'm going to tell you all a quick joke. I showed Mo D gospel choirs from the 1930s. And jokingly, he went, man, them niggas is biting. And so,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny because he was saying, they biting. But that's the mentality of some of my brothers and sisters for real. You know, some of them refused to talk to me because I brought this up. I showed them that Pigmeat Markham did Here Come the Judge. He's straight up spitting to a beat. And
I know what you're talking about.
And
I mean,
he
Gary
lived in the
Bird,
Bronx,
if you go to the
Gary Bird,
60s.
Jocko, you see
Yeah,
what I'm
like-
saying? And so we take our moment in time and sever our umbilical because of the terminology that we apply to it. And that terminology is hip hop. But that terminology actually was a pejorative for us. And you would only know that if you was a dancer. Because when we would dance at these parties, we couldn't get in most of the parties, the B-boys.